When building a team that thrives through the tough times, the pre-work cannot be ignored. So we're assuming the pre-work of strategy, identifying the needs, and visualizing the structure has been completed. So now it's time to begin having conversations with people to invite them to be a part of your team. But who to have a conversation with is just as important as how to structure that conversation. This session covers the tasks of building the list of potential leaders, determining their investment, having the conversation, and allowing them to indicate where they might be willing to serve. There is a difference in finding a position for someone who volunteers to serve and pursuing the best person to fit a specific need in children's ministry. For the purposes of this training, we're going to assume the goal is to fill a specific need or group of needs. For example, the goal may be to launch an additional service, or to begin planning for your summer outreach, or to recruit leaders for camp. So with that in mind, the first task that must be completed is to build the list. When a specific need is in focus, begin building a list of the most qualified people who can fill that role. This sounds easy enough, but there are some pitfalls that can sabotage an effective list. So make sure you look for 10s. Some team members have the ability to contribute more to the success of the mission than others. So build a list of people based on the value they contribute, not because of their likelihood of saying yes or because they've expressed an interest in filling that specific position. Once this list has been established, start at the top and work your way down. You never know. God just might be working on the people who are at the top of your list, and you would have missed it by starting further down because yes was more likely. Secondly, never say no for anyone. As humans, we are averse to rejection. As a result, we look for the most likely person who will say yes. This may not be the most qualified person, however. The truth of the matter is, people who are 10s will be honored to have been asked to serve, even if they're unable to meet the need. Ask which results in a rejection today may serve as a seed which God will grow and harvest tomorrow. Don't let your list get sabotaged because of tunnel vision. To prevent this, get input from others. Some children's leaders have difficulty recruiting because they find it hard to have the time to build relationships with potential volunteers. But by making a list of names for a specific function, it becomes much easier to visit with other leaders in the church and ask them, can you validate this list? You may also find value in asking them to recommend others you may not have thought of. The second task you must complete before making the ask is to determine the investment. Many top-level leaders will consider the investment required to be successful before they ever make a commitment. They will not want to commit and then end up letting you down or hurting other commitments that they have. So to help them evaluate the investment, consider having a written summary of the general commitments that would be expected from every leader, as well as the specific investment needed for the role you're hoping that they will fill. Some examples of general expectations would be, we want every leader to be growing in relationship with Christ. They should be reading their Bible regularly and memorizing verses. They should be attending church regularly, not just when they serve, and giving. Don't make the commitment level so high that it requires more from them than it does other church leadership roles. However, clarifying expectations help them know what is important to you. Some examples of specific investment might be the minimum duration you're asking them to commit to. For instance, are you asking for 1 year, 6 months? How long should they commit? Are you looking for a weekly investment that includes time outside of service, like 2 hours a week for preparation? You might want to cover things like being loyal to the vision of the children's ministry as well as the church leadership. Do you want to ask them to pray for the children? What are you expecting from them? As a part of the discussion on investment, don't forget to explain what kind of training is available, inform them of any monthly or quarterly meetings that are required as well. Providing as much clarity of commitment up front will result in less disappointment and frustration down the road. Now, with these two tasks completed, it's time to have a conversation. The best advice on making the ask is to simply have a conversation. While the ultimate goal is to fill a need in the team, the best starting place is to talk with this potential leader about the vision of the children's ministry, the opportunity that exists to serve, and how you see what God has placed inside of them as being a great fit. This conversation is not intended to end with an ask for commitment at that time. Rather, it's intended to give them an opportunity to pray about how they see themselves being a part of what God is doing in the ministry. When setting up these conversations, don't disguise your intentions because you fear. Instead, be upfront and give them a higher level of respect for you and help them be prepared to listen. Here are 3 examples of how to set up these conversations. You may start with, God has placed you on my heart recently as I was praying about who could best fill a need in our children's ministry. I'd love to visit with you about what I sense God doing and give you an opportunity to pray and see if it's confirmed in your heart. Would you have time this week for a conversation? Here's another example. Our ministry has been experiencing growth, which requires a team who can invest in the children. You've been recommended to me because of and you fill in the blank. I think this may make you a great fit for the need we have in our ministry. Would you have time this week for a conversation? A third option might start like this. One of our values in our church is to involve people in ministry. I'm not sure the full extent of your current commitment level, but I'd love to explore how God might use you within children's ministry. There are a variety of opportunities available, and I'm committed to helping people find fulfillment where they serve. Would you have time this week for a conversation about the opportunities that we have? You see, these conversation starters build trust and open lines of communication, and they're absolutely non-threatening. The last task related to making the ask is something you need the potential volunteer to complete. So assuming you've done the work to identify a variety of needs, then as part of the conversation, let them indicate where they're most comfortable serving. If during the conversation they're showing a level of interest but are not leaning toward one specific place of ministry, provide them with time and a written list of possible places to serve. Ask them to pray. Talk with them and their spouse if appropriate, and set up a time for a second conversation. It's completely appropriate to share with them where you believe they would be the best fit, but always give them options. Giving a potential leader only one position to consider results in hearing a yes or a no. But providing more than one option to serve, it increases the chances of getting some level of yes. Another way to provide options is to invite them to experience a variety of ministry venues before making a commitment. This could include midweek service, preschool, behind-the-scenes administration, small group leaders, and the list goes on. This will take a few weeks, but the end result might be helping them find a better fit for ministry much faster. Once a potential volunteer has indicated an area they would like to serve, invite them to try it out for a couple of weeks and then allow them to reevaluate before they make a long-term commitment. By giving them options, you place the volunteer in a stronger position for satisfaction. And by following up, you affirm your commitment to ensure they are fulfilled and growing as a leader. This process is not a guarantee for getting a yes, and it is a significant investment of your time. But the amount of time you invest in the leader on the front end will help them understand the value of the role that they play in helping the ministry be a success. If you recruit people the week before they need to start, at some point you can expect them to quit 1 week before they're required to serve. So giving them time, giving them options, letting them see the commitments up front, and knowing that you believe they're the best leader that you could find will increase the quality of their yes and the respect you will gain, even if it's a no. A yes from a potential volunteer is not the end of successful recruiting, however. There's more to be done, but that's for another session. For now, this is a great time to pause, get your list of open positions ready, and start building your list.